Today, we're taking a look at the new Creality Hi Combo. It's their newest, most advanced bed slinger 3D printer to date. And along with the printer, we're also checking out the CFS, Creality's filament system used for multicolour prints. The Hi model packs heaps of features that are usually found on higher-end models, such as the full auto-calibration system that calibrates the Z offset, bed level, and vibration resonance all automatically, which makes it easy to get prints started. It's also a fast printer with print travel speeds of up to 500mm per second, with typical print speeds of 300mm per second. Taking a look around the 3D printer, the Creality Hi has a clean, modern design. It has an all-metal body construction with nicely designed metal base and uprights. The design and placement of the components have been well thought out, with a high level of attention to detail to the fit and finish. At the front of the printer, we've got a foldable 3.2-inch colour touchscreen, and this can be adjusted to change the tilt angle or be folded back. The display has a clean user interface and is easy to navigate for starting a print, adjusting settings, and for basic printer operation. The touchscreen feels responsive and is easy to use. For connectivity, the Creality Hi has built-in Wi-Fi for file transfer and for remote access on a PC with Creality Print software or via the mobile app. There's a USB port located at the side of the printer for offline transfer of files and for a secondary method of downloading time-lapse footage. For the motion, we have a linear rail attached to a custom aluminium profile for the X-axis. What's good to see, they've placed it on the underside, which should help keep it clean from dust and any debris. The linear rails are ultra smooth and give accurate motion with very little maintenance required. The Y-axis has metal guide wheels on a rail slider system, which moves the bed smoothly along the base. Inside the uprights, the Z-axis uses dual lead screws on separate motors, which ensures precise Z layers. To keep the axis level, the printer uses two limit switches hidden inside the top of the frame, which reset and level out its position. Taking a look at the tool head, this has a direct drive extruder with metal gears that feeds filament through the hot end, which comes with a hardened steel 0.4mm nozzle installed. This can reach temperatures of up to 300 degrees, which is good for printing basic materials like PLA, PETG and TPU. This tool head also has a built-in filament run-out sensor, and this will pause the print and notify the filament has run out, and we will resume printing after the filament is replaced. What we also find on this printer is a filament cutter and purge wiper. These are part of the automatic system used to load and unload filament. At either side of the hot end, two fans cool down the freshly printed layers, and these air ducts are made out of silicone, which will stop any melted plastic accidentally sticking to them. The heat bed has a magnetic sheet, and this holds the dual-sided flexible epoxy build plate firmly in place, and it can reach a maximum temperature of 100 degrees. The build plate holds the model well during printing and gives a nice surface finish that matches the print surface. Towards the back of the bed, there's a metal plate and silicone wiper that's used for preparing and cleaning the nozzle. Now for the print size, the Creality Hi has a build volume of 260 by 260 by 300mm, which is a good size for most models and projects. There's also a small camera located on the printer, and while it does have a low quality image, it does have a good frame rate, making it easy to monitor the prints or record time-lapse footage. And if you ever need, there's a cover that can be moved over the camera's lens for privacy. Next to the camera is a small LED light to light up the print area. Although this LED isn't very bright, so you'll still need some extra lighting near the printer in dark environments. So the printer comes well packaged, and the first item we find in the combo kit is the CFS unit. Inside the box there's also step-by-step instructions clearly printed, showing the order to unpack the printer. With the printer out of the box, we just need to cut a few cable ties and remove the protective foam. Everything is included to get started. We have the quick start guides with information for assembly, setup, and how to get the first print started. We have a sticker sheet, a few different lengths of Teflon tube, the anti-tangle mount for the top spool holder, a sample of Creality's white Hyper PLA, the filament buffer for the CFS, the top spool holder, the power cable, connection cables for the CFS, and a piece of double-sided tape. And we have all the tools and hardware needed for the assembly. The printer comes 95% pre-assembled, So after unpacking, there's only a few steps needed to get the printer up and running. The manual has clear instructions on how to assemble the printer, and it's a straightforward process. We start by attaching the top gantry to the base. This is bolted on with a few bolts. Next we plug in the cables and install the protective covers. The printer comes with a spool holder that clips onto the top of the printer, and a tube is connected from the anti-tangle mount to the top of the extruder. Finally, the build plate is installed and the screen is rotated to the front, and the power cable is plugged in. It's a really easy and quick process to get it set up and should only take you about 10 minutes. On the first power up, there's a basic setup procedure on the touchscreen for the language and Wi-Fi, and then it will run through the self-check, testing things like the motors, fans, and heating the nozzle and the bed. It will also complete the input shaping and auto leveling. Now, the single spool holder that's attached to the top of the printer's frame is good for using individual rolls of filament, and it's also recommended to use it when printing with softer materials like TPU rather than using the CFS unit. Creality also has new RFID filament spools, and these have a tag on the spool that can be scanned at the side of the printer. Once scanned, you'll hear a beep. Then it will read the information and apply the material settings and colour automatically. You can also use other spools of filament, but you'll need to add the material information manually. To load the filament, it's fed through the tube and into the extruder, and there's a handy blue light that will light up to let you know the filament is in enough. Then over in the menu on the touchscreen, press on Extrude to load the filament. So it's a pretty easy process to load and unload filament manually on the printer. And if you have the CFS, it will do all the filament loading and retracting all automatically, which makes the process even easier. So to set up the CFS, we need to attach the filament buffer to the side of the printer. There's a few tubes to connect from the buffer to the extruder and to the CFS, and 2 cables from the CFS to the buffer and to the side of the printer. It's fairly quick to set up the CFS or to change over to the single spool holder if needed. Spools of filament are loaded into the CFS, and we just need to feed a bit of filament into the tube, and the rest will be automated. If the spools are Creality's RFID ones, it will also automatically read the material settings and colour. Of course, we can use other spools of filament, but you'll need to enter the material type and colour manually. So the CFS is mainly used for multicolour and multi-material printing. It holds 4 rolls of filament and is able to automatically change and select filament as needed. This allows you to have multiple colours or different materials loaded and ready to go. Not only that, the CFS is able to be used as a filament backup system, which will automatically switch from a finished roll to the next roll of filament of the same type if one runs out. This system is good to have for larger models or when spools are running low. The unit is airtight sealed, which keeps filament clean and ready to use. At the front, it has a humidity and temperature sensor displayed on the LCD screen, allowing you to check on the status. Inside, a spring-loaded bar keeps spools from moving around, which is especially useful when they get lighter as they run out. Another thing is, if you ever have filament break off inside or get stuck, it's very easy to perform maintenance with the tubes easily accessible from the underside. The CFS is also expandable, so you can connect up to 4 CFS units to the buffer, allowing you a total of 16 colours, which will be plenty of colours for almost any model. To start with the first print, we're testing out the CFS and the multicolour print capabilities with a coloured Benchy boat. This is set up to change between 4 different colours at set levels where the CFS will automatically unload and reload filament as needed. During the process, it will purge out the old colour before starting to print with the new colour. Model looks good and all the colour changes worked really well. Creality has recently updated the slicing software, and now we're using Creality Print 6.0. It's refined and built upon the previous version with a clean, intuitive user interface, making it easy to prepare and slice files. There are default presets for slicing files which I find work well, and these can be easily customized and adjusted for the model's requirements. Once we have a model sliced as a G-code file, it can be sent directly to the Creality High over Wi-Fi or saved onto a USB drive. It's good using Wi-Fi and a lot quicker than having to move files with a USB from a PC to a printer, but it's still good to have the USB drive option if you ever need an offline solution. Within the software, we can control and monitor the one machine or multiple 3D printers, making it easy to send jobs, adjust settings, and watch over the printer. Prints can also be monitored from the Creality Cloud app on a mobile device. For the next print, we're using the Print by Object option, and this is set to print 3 objects in different colours. It's a good way to print a few different coloured items in one go, and by printing by object means we save on colour changes, and it only changes in between models rather than at each layer. Print came out great. It's clean and smooth, and all the parts for the melted ice creams fit perfectly together to complete the model. It's definitely a great way to save time on colour changes if you ever need to print a few different coloured items at once. For this next print, we're printing a Hue Forge design of R2D2. The CFS will automatically change colours at set layer heights to give a detailed painted look. And while we could do manual filament swaps with a layer pause, using the CFS makes the whole process easier to print. The R2D2 is printed with white, grey, blue and black, and the finished model turned out well and has a neat and interesting design that was easy to print. Next up we have this Hulk model, and it's printed using the CFS that automatically changes between purple, green, black and white colours. One thing I was interested to see was the filament colour changes and how long it took to complete the process. Changes ended up taking around 1:30 for each colour, which is pretty good to see as it's the same time as the higher end K2 3D printer. The finished models look good, and using different colours gives a good effect. For the next print, we're printing a foldable container with blue PLA. The first layer went down super clean and smooth, which goes to show how well the automated levelling system works. The final print turned out great and all the parts fitted together well, and the printer performed as expected. A super clean functional print with a nice surface finish. During the tests, all the other prints turned out well. They have good surface finishes, good tolerances, and the multicolour prints look really nice. Keep in mind there is some filament waste with multicolour prints, so print by object or printing multiple models at a time will help with this. Overall, the Creality Hi is a well-built 3D printer that produces good quality prints. It's easy to use, and with minimal assembly required, it's quick and easy to get going out of the box. Adding the CFS will give you multicolour printing options, and it's sure to be a popular 3D printer package.